time for another episode of the Real Crimes of Kurri Kurri. In this episode, I'm going to discuss the AVOs, the apprehended violence orders. It's common in local courts around New South Wales to have a large number of cases related to an AVO. Kurri is no different. However, Kurri doesn't have a DVLO, a domestic violence liaison officer. Unlike courts such as Maitland, where on particular DV days, a police officer will be working the court. Here's where I think Kurri is at a disadvantage, and just observing the cases you can see the need. Remember, these AVO cases can be any type of relationship. It's not just husband and wives, but ex-partners or current partners or friends, complete strangers, family members, or really any two people. In February 2025, when court sat, we saw a number of cases which I think would benefit from a DV officer. On this day, there was a grandfather seeking protection from their granddaughter. The granddaughter has questions about the AVO, plus there was a property recovery issue. However, the magistrate can only answer so much until it reaches a point where they risk giving advice. Another case was an application to protect one sister from another. If there was one case that needed a DV officer, this was one. For example, the defendant's sister wanted to know if they could still be in contact with her sister. So some court time was taken up explaining the AVO conditions. The defendant's sister had written directly to the court and made admissions about the AVO application against her. These representations would usually be something a DV liaison officer at court could assist with, meaning the unrepresented defendant could have the opportunity to make representations to the police before they appear before the magistrate. I think that also personal details could be sorted through away from the public gallery, and court time wouldn't be taken up. The court adjourned the sister AVO case in February for the police to consider the contents of the letter. From the gallery, it's possible the defendant's sister was giving information claiming the AVO application is based on a lie. Not from the sister in need of protection, but from someone else. When the case returns in March, the defendant's sister only briefly appears as the police announce they are no longer pressing the AVO application, and the magistrate dismisses the case. I think if the court didn't fill the gap created by no DV officer, then the outcome for this defendant may have been different. In March 2025, when Kurri Local Court sat, we also saw other examples where Kurri is disadvantaged by not having a DV officer. We saw one protected person showing up wanting to engage in the court process. It was unclear what the protected person was seeking because the magistrate stopped the case as soon as the defendant wasn't in the courtroom. The legal proceedings are against the defendant, so they need to be here. But this case shows that protected people want to engage, and in my opinion, the courtroom may not be the best forum. Rather, a more one-on-one interaction with the police may be more appropriate for the protected person. By the way, I understand you can go to the police station and interact with police at any time. I'm just not sure what the protected person was wanting from the court on that day. In March, we also saw a number of unrepresented defendants agreeing to the AVO being made without admissions. I think having a quick chat to the duty solicitor or a DV officer to understand what without admissions means may assist the defendants. I felt that many defendants appeared to answer yes, and they perhaps weren't 100% sure what without admissions meant in this legal setting. So if you're heading to court for an AVO matter, it's worth looking at what without admissions means. Basically, it means that you are agreeing to the order being made without admitting anything. You're not saying you're guilty of whatever the AVO application is allegedly saying happened. And just because you have an AVO doesn't mean you're guilty of whatever allegedly happened. Now, you don't have to just listen to me about AVOs and Kurri Court. You could just listen to the magistrate and the police prosecutor. In the past couple of months, I've noticed that both have become increasingly vocal about the need for a DV officer at Kurri. You can clearly hear them from the gallery. But I wonder if the magistrate and the prosecutor are being heard outside the courthouse.